everyone. Welcome to Dr. Quack House Calls. I'm Dr. Quack, and today I have a special guest for you. A man who has been all around the globe in professional wrestling. A man who has done well in the promo world as well. Let me bring him on, ladies and gentlemen. The HSP Soulfire champion, Johnny Blade.
How's it going?
Hey, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. By the way, thank you all for tuning in over here at Whitnam's Wrestling World, the Dr. Quack House Calls, and my personal page. Definitely. If you got any questions, by all means, bring them up. Definitely want to answer. There you go. Show that belt again. Show that belt.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see that. Oh, yeah. That's that pretty belt right there.
Beautiful.
Made by ORM. But let's get down to it since we're talking about that Soulfire Championship. You managed to beat one of the, I would say, considered all-time greats possibly in the promo world. You managed to beat A-List Alverson. What was that like? What was your thought process going through that?
Well, leading up to it, I had no, and I'll be honest, I was not expecting to win at all. My goal was to hang within like 5 points of him. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And actually going into the Mr. Wallace match before the A-List, I was already looking ahead to A-List thinking there's no way I'll beat him. But once I beat Mr. Wallace, I still felt that I probably wouldn't beat A-List, but I'd sure give it a heck of a shot. And wow, I was surprised.
Your style of promo is a little bit different from what A-List does. You kind of come straight forward at you, like right in your face, like I'm going to punch you in the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I take a lot of my promo skills from like old school 80s, early 90s wrestling. So, that's what I came up in. That's just been my style since I started the actual, I've been in the wrestling business also since 94. I didn't, so when I started that, yeah, I've been doing my promos like that since then. Even since I was a kid when I was doing them in the mirror.
Okay. Hold on one second. I apologize. I think something might be going on technical. Let me see here. Just want to make sure we're good.
Somebody sabotaging your show?
Nope. Just want to make sure. Yep. There we go. Okay. Yep, something was going on the thing. But anyways, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was an incredible win that you had there. I have a question for you since you are the Soulfire champion. Do you feel that the Soulfire championship is equal to, less than, or greater than the Pure Heart title?
There may be different opinions on this, but in my opinion, the way I look at it, and this is just my perspective, is that I think they're equal. I just think it's just different times. Basically when you're the Soulfire champ, you're the king of the 2-minute promo. You're the best of the 2-minute promos. Pure Heart is what, 3.5, 4 minutes?
Yeah, 4-minute title matches, yes.
4 minutes, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like they're equal. I don't think any one is less than the other. I mean, I wouldn't, correct me if I'm wrong on that. If you feel that it's that way, then I'd love to hear reasons why, but I think they're equal.
Okay. I mean, this leads me up to your last match you had on here with Prince Blackheart. Did you seem distracted on that, or what would you say to that? Because you ended up getting swept, I believe, by Prince Blackheart, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, maybe I should cut this interview short right now, huh?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Prince Blackheart. My promo is just, I don't know. I can't explain it. I didn't bring it like I should have, and Prince whipped me. He kicked my ass.
Okay.
All I can say about that. There's much more I can elaborate with on that. But I will say this: if I get by Vagabond, I think if it were up to me, I would defend my title against Prince Blackheart the following show, if management allowed me. But
okay. Well,
I just think that's fair.
That's definitely something for them to consider. I mean, speaking of that match happening this Thursday at Fine Leather, you and Vagabond, both of you guys came off a loss. Does that really, affect your psyche going into this match? Do you think it affects his psyche?
I mean, I can't really speak for him. I think it possibly does a little bit. I mean, anybody that says it doesn't affect them is, in my opinion, lying, because it does affect you, at least a little bit in your head. You question yourself. But I'm fine now, and I'm focused, and I'm ready for Vagabond now. I mean, that loss to Blackheart hurt, and it stung pretty good. But I realized the task at hand. It's my first title defense. I can't dwell on the loss to Blackheart. I need to come out and get ready for Vagabond.
Definitely. I mean, he is a different breed. One more thing I want to talk about, though, because it seemed like Heathen has a problem with you. He seems like he's now, because of his contract, I saw this earlier today, because of his contract, is now going after the Soulfire champion. And he said, I quote here, if Vagabond doesn't get the job done, he's going to take you out.
Oh, I heard it here first. I didn't see that. Is that on the
That it is. I just saw it here about a half hour ago.
Unbelievable. Okay, well, then I guess I'll be seeing Heathen, and I'm glad he didn't retire, because that's the match that I want. I want that match.
You want that match?
I want that match. Vagabond's not going to get the job done. No offense to Vagabond. No disrespect to him at all. Great promo artist. Heathen too.
Yeah.
But Heathen's going to get beat, and then what's he going to say then? Am I still going to be a joke to him?
Ooh. I mean, that's going to be an interesting fight. I mean, Heathen's been around this game for quite a while. But, I want to move into something here. Because you're a manager. You're on the pro wrestling side. What is that like in comparison to what you do in the promo world?
Oh, well, oof. There's a couple of similarities. I mean, the promos that you see me give here on these shows, they're similar to the ones that that I give at the shows. A little bit shorter, of course. I don't want to take all the tension away from the from the match itself. But very few similarities, very different in a lot of ways as well. It's kind of to me anyway, that's a little bit of a trick question, because I don't know exactly how to answer that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who do you manage? And you manage down at UPW, correct?
I did manage. Well, my faction Blade Enterprises kind of fell apart. I managed the last champ they had was Rottweiler Jay Davis, and a show a couple of months ago, he lost the championship. He blamed me for it. It's on the YouTube. It's on their YouTube page, and then he attacked me after and put me out. I had to wear a neck brace for a week after, but yeah. So basically, Blade Enterprises has dissolved, and I'm in negotiations with a couple of guys from up North Texas, Central Texas, to restart it and be going by the beginning of by the beginning of next year, 2024.
Okay. Now you've been wrestling in Texas and been managing combined there for what, about 20 years?
Closer to 30.
Closer to 30. Okay.
My first match was in June of '94 that was my very first match.
Okay. What's the big difference between wrestling back then for you and what it is now, as far as what you see in Texas and the independent scene in general?
Oh, wow. I mean, wrestling has it's evolved now. Definitely, it's a lot different from when I started. I was one of the last few that broke in the way that the old school way of breaking in, paying dues, setting up the ring. And don't get me wrong, they still do that the correct way at a bunch of places now. But as far as the wrestling itself, there's a lot more high flying, unbelievable moves. 450s, 630s, probably even more than that.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was just, you told more of a story back in the day in the matches, more entertaining. I was an entertainer, so that's what I did. I just love to tell stories.
Definitely. Now you've had the chance to work in WWE, correct?
Yes.
You've had that time. What is it like in comparison, like to an independent wrestling locker room and the WWE locker room when you were up there? What mid '90s, early '90s?
I did enhancement work for them a few shows in March of '96.
'96. Okay, what was that like? 'Cause that's right before the Attitude Era. You know, when everything started to explode.
Yeah, man, that was a great time. And as far as the locker rooms, looking back and thinking back how the locker rooms were back then, very similar to indie locker rooms now. Just a bunch of guys sitting around watching the monitors. If there's monitors in indie shows, cutting up. Just of course, there was a lot more. The agents and everything running around backstage, and
Was there more chaos back there?
It really wasn't that chaotic, to be honest. It wasn't as chaotic as I thought it was going to be. It was nice. I enjoyed it. So no, it wasn't chaotic. There was a moment where it got a little chaotic in Gorilla. There was right before my match, right before I went out to face the Bushwhackers. Savio Vega was facing it was Steve Austin was facing somebody. Actually facing the guy that I rode there with. Ben Greer is his name. And had him in the $1 Million Dream, and Salvia was supposed to go make the save, and Vince came in there pissed, bumped into me, yelling at whoever was sitting. Bruce Pritchard, I believe, was sitting there.
Okay.
And because he didn't get out there quick enough to go make the save, and I'm thinking, wow, that was pretty cool. The boss man right there, yelling
did Vince talk to you at all?
No, nothing. No words were spoken between he and I.
Okay, but I imagine one of the agents.
I wanted to approach him and say hello. I'm sorry. I wanted to approach him, but I was a little too intimidated. Now there was some pretty cool moments that happened that same night. Now this first night I worked in Corpus for them in March of '96. That same night, that was the night that Stone Cold became the ringmaster, became Stone Cold. Because I spoke with him quite a bit that night when I was looking at the board to see which match I was, and he came up behind me and we just started having a conversation. I'm thinking, wow, I'm sitting there talking to, Steve Austin. I remembered him from WCW at that time. He wasn't big yet in WWF. And
but he was a very talented wrestler back there. Stunning Steve.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved him with the Hollywood Blondes. He and Brian Pillman, loved him. Loved that team. Also, that same night, Mankind, I stood right there as Mankind was showing Vince McMahon his mask for the first time, because Vince was commenting on how much he liked it and said, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Maybe we can do this with it," or because that's when Mick Foley was just starting his Mankind gimmick. And very same night, Dwayne had his tryout match. Dwayne Johnson,
wow,
as Dwayne Johnson versus the Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that would have been pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. And the next night, when I worked San Antonio with them, I got to speak to The Rock, and super nice guy at the time, and pretty cool that it turned out good for him.
Definitely. So now you talk about today's product, and Vince left. You have the Endeavor. They've now taken over TKO, taken over with WWE. How do you see wrestling going now?
That's a good question, actually. I mean, that's a good question. That's my question. What's going to happen? Are they going to merge with UFC?
That's pretty much what they're saying a lot. People are
do like a cross promotion event. Well, that would be awesome. It would get some pay-per-view buys. I know that.
Definitely. I mean, people are speculating they might change the belts again to look like the UFC titles.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be pretty cool. I mean, some people don't like change, which is understandable. I'm one of those guys, but I can accept change on things, certain things.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because they were talking about the last pay-per-view they just had at Fastlane. They were talking about the record numbers going up. They were talking about how advertising, everybody saw Pizza Hut on there at least 50 times throughout the show. I mean, I get it. They are trying to make sure they wring out all the money they can through this. It seems money.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys that are now owning it, these guys are not from the wrestling community. It's kind of difficult for them to be able to run things. They're saying that Triple H is now kind of grandfathered in and he's going to take care of stuff. Do you believe that to be true? Do you believe that Triple H will end up staying, or do you think he might end up going away?
Well, I mean, if they're saying that is he saying that he's going to stick around? Has Triple H said that himself?
Nobody's confirmed it, but they're saying that, yeah, they've all gotten along and they seem to be on the same page right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's really, I don't believe anything really, unless it's confirmed by the horse's mouth themselves. But, if Triple H sticks around, then I would trust that the product will still be top notch. But yeah, I do worry if Triple H leaves. So, they just have a bunch of Hollywood writers writing things. It could get bad in a hurry.
Definitely. Yeah, for you guys just tuning in, this is Johnny Blade. He is a promo artist, a promo champion. He is also from the wrestling world, has done a lot of great things, been everywhere around it. But, I got one more question on the current product here. Brian Pillman Jr., Brian Pillman's son, is now going to be known as Lexus King. This is supposed to be done in honor of his sister. How do you feel about those gimmick changes? Those changes that come from, when you're a character somewhere else, but then you come to the WWE and they go, we're not going to use that. You're going to be somebody else.
Well, I mean, I understand why they do that. Vince wants, they want their own name that he can market. And, he can market himself and make money off of. So, that's the way I look at it. And, if he ever leaves, Vince can't own Brian Pillman Jr., obviously. He can't own his real name. So, he leaves, he can use his real name again, and everything's good. It is what it is. I used to not like that, but I see why they do it. I can understand it.
Well, here you go. You got a question here from Old School. It says, good evening, gentlemen. What's the one match Blade wants to happen for himself?
Ooh, I'm assuming he means, of course, promo.
Could be. You can take that either way you feel, sir.
And promo, man, there's not just one. There's so many people I want to face. Old School is one I'd love to test my skills against. With all due
respect. The Soulfire versus the Pure Heart champion. I like that.
Yeah, like Warrior Hogan, WrestleMania 6. Come on, man. That'd be awesome. Heathen, of course, he's somebody I'd like to face. Not just because he hates me, but just I respect Heathen. He's good. I like his catchphrase.
Okay.
So many more. Vagabond, he was on the list, so I'm glad that one's happening. A-list was on the list and until it happened. So many out there. I got to knock Mr. Wallace off the list. Roughneck, I'd like to have him in a one-on-one.
That's definitely a lot of people.
And he promised he'd take me to a Phillies game too. So hopefully that happens.
Wow, yeah. He is excited for his Phillies. I see him all over at the games, man. He is loving that. Got another question here for you. This is from the Tin Man. Do you feel that the wrestlers today are too afraid or too cautious compared to the way they did things in the 80s and 90s?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that way. I see a lot back in the day, or at least back when I did it in the mid 90s. We were, oh my goodness, there was, everything was laid in hard. Nowadays I see, have you seen the recent Ricky Starks clip with the chair on the post? That's a good example now of how they're, I can understand they're trying to be safe, but come on, don't make it look so blatantly obvious. So yeah, definitely they're being too, they're definitely too afraid or cautious. They don't want to hurt their friends. They don't want to, it's not as rough nowadays. It's a lot more acrobats, right. A lot more, flying around.
You see a lot of today's wrestling where they love to do hands across America, where they have one on each side here and getting ready for the dive, and a lot more protection. They don't allow the chair shots and things like that. How has wrestling affected you physically and mentally since you've been going through this for 30 years?
Mentally, I think it's kept me sane. I mean, it's all I really knew. I mean, that's like the only thing I knew for years. Physically, I'm starting to feel it about, last year it started coming in, and my knees, my hips, my back. I'm starting to feel it today. Aches and pains, but it comes with the age too,
Yeah,
And I'm not in the
you're
greatest of shape anymore.
48.
48. I just turned 48, and yeah, and of course, I'm not in the greatest of shape either. So that combined with all the years of the ridiculous bumps, front flips off the top rope, clothesline. I'd have to get clothesline and flip backwards over the top every match. I'd have to, or I'd feel like the match wasn't a success for me. I would have to do something crazy like that, and I'm paying for it now. It hurts.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, trust me, I know the injuries myself. I got one more here from you, though. Here you go. As a champion, we all carry our different titles. What sets you apart from the other champs? That's old school.
Oh, that's a good question, old school.
Some good ones.
Yeah, that's a good question. I tell you what sets me apart. It's, I really don't know. Let me come back to you on that. What really sets me apart. I'm a different breed, not vagabond. I'm a different breed. I'm something different. You got a guy from the wrestling world coming in, and all due respect to you, old school, you're from the wrestling world. I heard as well. Is that correct, Quack?
Yeah, many a years.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
We both worked with our friend Mr. Mayhem.
Oh yeah. Of course, he had his first match ever against me. Yes. But I don't know, maybe that that you kind of stumped me on that, honestly, because I feel like I'm one of the best. Nothing major sets me apart. I don't feel, to be quite honest.
Well, here's one more for you. Old school. My first chop was an adrenaline rush as a manager. LOL. I think the guy who nailed me enjoyed it way too much. How did chops feel to you? Do you like chops? Hate chops?
I don't like them. I never liked them, but I've fed guys for them all the time. They could do it all they want. There was a friend of mine. He's passed away since. He went by Wichita Willie in Texas Indies, and he used to always catch me in the Battle Royal, and he would purposely try to chop me right on the nipple. I mean, never failed. And he would do those overhand chops like Bubba Ray Dudley, and I just do not like those. But yeah, chops are terrible. I don't like them, but I'll take them. Go ahead and chop the heck out of me. The hardest chop I've ever had in my life was by a guy named Alex Porto in my rookie year of 1995. I've had a handprint on my chest for a week after that match.
Okay. Yeah, I got a question for you here. Wrestling fans. Now, this is something I asked earlier in another interview. Their expectations. Do you think they're too over-exhausting nowadays, or do you think that they're on the money with it?
I'm sorry, what was that question about the wrestling fans again? Their
expectations when they come to shows. Like, they expect to see a certain amount of stuff. Do you think they're too high, too low, or just right?
Well, mine are super low when I watch. I don't expect anything. I try to watch as much as a fan as I can, but for the most part, when I read on social media, the expectations are high. I mean, I'm seeing things like, oh, it's going to be Randy Orton. He's coming back, or he's showing, he may be back, or if he came back. I haven't watched it in the last week. I'm catching up in the next day or two. But I see things like that, and I'm thinking, man, they're really thinking something big. The Rock, versus Roman, and yeah, of course, we're all expecting that, but it's things like that. It's just big. That's a big expectation, whether it happens or not. And yeah, that for the most part, the average, the IWC, geez, yeah, they have pretty big expectations.
Yes, they do. Oh, I got a comment here. This is from Sean Shady McKenzie over here. Don't forget, Johnny Blade, I have a golden opportunity now, and that Soulfire title would look damn good around my oh-so-shady waist. You got everybody gunning for you.
Hey, that's what being a champion's about. I have a target on my back, and I've got a huge back. So, a helicopter could land on it. So you know what? Bring it on. Come one, come all. After I get done with Vagabond, bring the next challenger. I want to defend this championship every show if I can, but they're not. It's going to have to be apparently every month, I guess. I don't know.
It could be. So I got a big match question for you since Shady came on. Shady and the Storyteller going to meet at this show. Who do you got in that?
I don't know. That's tough. That's a close one. You got the former Pure Heart champ coming off a loss, coming off losing his title. You got the Storyteller. I'd be smart to pick, Shady because, Storyteller seems to be a little too preoccupied with the gentleman that's challenging me. So, Shady, I guess.
Okay. Here we go. I got two more actually from old school. I think being in the wrestling world gives you experience in the promo with live actually, and doing them now we can strive to be even better. Doing live promos, has that helped you?
Live promos. I've never done it in the promo game, but as far as
the promo out there in front of the crowd.
Oh, as far as that, I like doing that. I get nervous before I do it because I don't know what I'm going to say when I go out there. I'll think of a couple of things while I'm in the back, that the promoter wants me to hit on. But other than that, it's all my words. But and it's so night and day of when I first started. You should have seen me when I first started. I was like a little boy that could barely. I was whispering basically on the mic. They're like, "Pick it up with your boys." I was so nervous, shaky. And now, and then go years later, watch some of my Texas All-Star Wrestling clips on YouTube, and you couldn't shut me up.
Definitely. Here we go. I got one more from him. Your favorite wrestler from the older era, not the WWE current.
From the older era. So when I was young, the very first, I don't know who I liked more, but Bruiser Brody and Gino Hernandez were two of my all-time favorite when I was about 8, 9 years old. Absolutely loved them. When I was, fast forward to when I was like 11, 12, 13, teenage years, Macho Man Randy Savage. He was the man. WrestleMania like 3, 4, 5. I loved Macho Man. Even when he turned on Hogan, I was Team Macho. I saw what Hogan was doing. I saw the lust he had in his eyes for Elizabeth. So, yes, I was Team Macho all the way. Okay. So, Macho Man, Bruiser Brody, Gino Hernandez, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Loved all those guys.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great guys there. I want to wrap up this interview here shortly, but I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite moment in your wrestling career?
Well, the enhancement work that I did with WWF has got to be tops because that was a goal, just to get in a WWF ring, and I achieved that. Wrestling in the Sportatorium in Dallas in 1995. That was one of the buildings I always wanted to wrestle in. Even though I got beaten a little over 2 minutes, I got squashed. I was still in the Sportatorium, and in the same. No, you really can. It was a magical feeling, and I appreciate it more now. But I really, even as a 19-year-old at that time, I appreciated it then, and it was that was just a great moment. And then another thing is wrestling Gentleman Chris Adams. I got to wrestle in Galveston in April of 2000. It was one of the best matches I've ever had. And Gentleman Chris, he ended me with a super kick, and we had about a 15-20 minute match that was pretty good from what everybody said. No video footage of it. Unbelievable.
Oh man.
There are witnesses that can vouch for that match.
I understand. I'm with you. I haven't had a lot of matches that were filmed. They were using the little 8mm. I couldn't put them on YouTube at the time. Luckily I got a few on there myself. I totally understand that. It was difficult in the 90s and 2000s to do things like that. Yeah.
And I wrestled for a guy named, it was a guy that ran NWA Southwest, Ken Taylor, I believe was his name. But okay. Yeah, I don't know. No footage. Wish I had it. I'd pay any amount of money if somebody had footage on that.
Well, if you're listening to this, make sure you get with Johnny Blade if you got that. Shady over here, Eddie Gilbert and Sting were phenomenal back in the day. I tend to agree. Yeah, they were among the best in that late 80s, early 90s deal.
Mm-hmm. I was highly involved in the whole Hyatt and Hot Stuff International feud going on. You know, when Eddie Gilbert and John Tatum were feuding and fighting over Missy Hyatt, and then Sting came in the picture, and yeah, that was a fun time. That was great.
Definitely. One final question before we go. What's your favorite scary movie? We're in Halloween season. I'm going to ask.
Oh man, on the spot again. Favorite? I can't just pick
you,
one.
I'm on the fly, baby. On the fly.
Yeah, but I can't just pick. How can I just pick one? There's so many that I like. Now, I'm old school, so I gotta go. I mean, I love the original Friday the 13th one. I liked 2, even 3. You know, even though a character in there just got on my nerves in part 3. But Halloween's 1 and 2, 3 was horrible. 3 should have never been made. 3 should be the guy who made that should have been served with a death penalty. The Halloween 3 is an abomination that should have never been made. But Halloween's 1 and 2 were great. So Halloween and Friday the 13th franchises probably were my favorite. And there's an old school that's underrated that no one knows about. It's called Terror Train that started one of Jamie Lee Curtis's first movies.
Yes, that was a great film. I loved that movie.
Loved it as a kid. Loved it. It scared the daylights out of me. And matter of fact, I may go train. I'm off the next 3 days from work, so may try to find that on one of these streaming devices if I can. In my old age, try to figure it out.
I just saw it last week. It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi. Oh yes. My goodness, I have Tubi. I'll get it. I just bought a brand new, the latest Roku, and my old ass try to figure it out. I'll get it on there.
Yeah, all you gotta do is download that. It's free. It has commercials, but yeah, not many. Not like your other ones that'll have like 10 of them in there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I like free.
There's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
What's that?
Good. The Exorcist, Shady said. The original Exorcist.
You know what? Don't kill me when I say this.
Here we go.
I've never seen it. I've never watched The Exorcist.
You need to put that on your to-do list over the next 3 days. Yes, that was definitely an all-time classic.
The original, okay, yeah. I mean, it's I've always meant to. The Shining is one of my all-time favorites. I can't believe I didn't even mention that. I have the face of Jack Nicholson tattooed on my leg where he's going through, looking through the door when he acts through it. So,
wow. Well, real quick, final words here. Where else can we find you? Where do you got going on over here the next couple months as far as pro wrestling promos, anything else?
Well, as far as being, as far as managing in UPW, there's no shows for the rest of the year. We're taking the holidays off, so be back doing that in January. As far as promoing, I will be in action at HSP's Fine Leather this Thursday. It is this Thursday, correct? Yes.
It is this Thursday.
Yes. My very first title defense against Vagabond. So, the most important match in my short promo career. Like old school said, the hardest part is not winning this; it's hanging on to it. And I can't let Vagabond defeat me in my first title defense. I can't do it.
That is the toughest thing. That first title defense always makes everybody nervous. I swear. But that's the end of our show here, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Johnny Blade, for coming on here. Our next guest, we have Logan Wade. We're going to talk some UWE down in Louisiana, and we're going to talk some promo world stuff as well. Tune in here Wednesday, 8 o'clock. I'm Dr. Quack, and I will see you next time.